Bushwise Field Guides is an all-encompassing field guide course which gives any student huge experience. The idea is that they come with all-encompassing qualifications that they can hopefully get into a job.
The course that we offer is very, very comprehensive, and also we consult with the lodges themselves as to what they're looking for into their guides, and based on that we include that on our courses.
I love nature and I love working with people, so that's actually where my interest grew. I just want to do something or find a particular career in nature.
The students come to Bushwise, I think, not expecting the amount of knowledge they're going to get.
So our modules include things anywhere from geology of the area, climate, mammals, mammal calls, animal behaviour.
We do advanced 4x4, we do presentation skills, and we do rifle handling and shooting skills.
It's really nice that each week we got either one or a number of modules and then a test weekly, because then it did prepare us for the final FGASA exam.
You know, you're continually learning. You're not just here in the classroom learning stuff. You're out and about in the bush.
And you're not just chasing after the big five, you're stopping in the trees and the flowers and all the little bugs and everything. So that was really awesome because I'm a visual learner and I have to see things to understand them.
I've learned a lot more than I thought I would be able to learn.
On the campus, we're trying to make it as comfortable as possible for the students, a home away from home.
Because it's not necessarily the easiest thing to come out as an international, but to have somewhere where you know that you'll be safe and with a lot of people that are doing the same thing with the same passion. I think for me that's what appealed me to it.
It's not you on your own struggling to understand something or remember something. Everyone is helping everyone.
With family, we become a family, and with the trainers, what I love about them, they're open, you're free to ask any question whenever you want.
We're teaching them concepts and tips and tricks and knowledge that we've gained over years and years and years.
I have more belief in myself. That's the thing that motivated me the most.
Being a guide or working at research entities, a big element, if not the biggest element, is actually working with people.
It's exciting because you get to tell people what they don't know at all, and seeing the faces like so surprised, like wow.
And I think our main goal is to create teachers which will be able to go out and actually keep conservation going.
It's one of the reasons why we have Bushwise. We try to not only train them as guides with a piece of paper, but for them to go out, be ambassadors, and be responsible and set an example.
A lot of jobs require you to have work experience, and without that often you aren't able to get jobs, so we offer the 6-month placement which enables people to work in the industry to really get that foot in the door.
So they give you like a jump start into the industry.
I can't wait now, I can't wait. I'm not looking forward to leaving this place, but that's when the real stuff begins.
Getting excited just thinking about it.
Awesome. Hi, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our Bushwise Open Day this July from a very cold Cape Town. I hope you're all doing well today, keeping it a little bit warmer than what we are. I am here with the team today, and we are going to be talking to you a little bit about who we are and what we do here at Bushwise. You should be seeing my screen at the moment. Let me just move that down. As you can see, we have a full lineup ahead of us. I will be handing over to Kim shortly, who's one of our fabulous Bushwise staff members. She's in fact our head of admissions, and she'll be talking about our in-field courses. And then we'll have some time for questions after that. So please do prepare them and pop them into the Q&A box when you do have them. We'll also then be playing a pre-recorded presentation by Annie, who's our Bushwise communication lead, and she's going to be covering her absolutely fascinating personal experience training and working in conservation in South Africa as an international. She is from the US. After that, we'll be hearing from Ben, who's a Bushwise alumnus, about their Bushwise experience and what it's really like to be a Bushwise student from the perspective of a Bushwise student. And then lastly, Darryn, who's our current head of Bushwise Online, will be talking to us about our online courses here at Bushwise. And then finally, I'll be back on your screen to wrap up. Behind the scenes, we're going to have Kim, as I mentioned, answering questions as well. She is a fountain of wisdom and part of the furniture here at Bushwise, and also answering questions in the Q&A box, as well as verbally after each talk. So a little bit of housekeeping before we move forward. You will receive a link to the recording of this event on Monday morning. So I know that often people need to run out halfway, or they miss a part, or they just want to watch something again. You will in fact be able to do that. Please do not worry about that. And also you are more than welcome to share this recording with anyone else who you feel might benefit from watching it. We'd encourage you to do so. We'll also be answering questions throughout this event. Please do put your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, and we will be answering them as quickly as possible. And you will receive all the relevant details regarding today's special offer via email right after this event. So any questions you have about how do you sign up, how do you book, how do you get in touch, etc., all of that information will land in your inbox just after this event. Without further ado, I am going to stop sharing my screen now and hand over to our wonderful Kim. There she is. Hi, Kim. How's it going?
All good. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for taking part of your Saturday to join us. I know a lot of people are keen to watch the rugby. So like Amanda said, there is a recording if you want to sign out quickly and come back in after you've checked the score. I'm going to share my video now, and I'm going to put my video off and share my screen. So without further ado, here we go.
Thanks, Kim.
All right, can everyone see my screen? Fantastic. Excellent. Thanks, Amanda. Okay, so we're first going to meet our team. We are very, very happy with the amazing people that actually work for us. In my opinion, I think a lot of the experiences that the students have on our courses has very much got to do with our team on the ground. They are excellent teachers. They are highly experienced. They come with a lot of qualifications and background in the industry, and we try and support our students with everything we can. We actually, one of our values is students at heart. So we make lifelong friends with some of our students. For many, many years after the course, we've been invited to weddings. In fact, some students have even come back to work as trainers. So here is our amazing team. A few new faces, a few faces have recently left, unfortunately, but like I said, we have amazing, amazing people on the ground working with us. Great, so I'm going to chat a little bit more about our infill courses. In other words, our courses that are done on campus. We've got two core courses. Our first and the best one, in my opinion, which we are most known for, is our professional field guiding course. The reason we call it a professional field guiding course is because it is very, very comprehensive. It's a long-term course for 6 months. It can be followed up with an optional 6-month work placement. And post-COVID, we realized that more and more people were in positions where they perhaps didn't have the time or the budget to do our long-term course. So we developed our new 60-day safari guiding course, which will still get you all the qualifications you need to go into the industry. It just is a compressed version and doesn't include a placement. But we'll talk a little bit more in detail about both courses during this presentation. So that leads me to our first course, our professional field guiding course. Like I said, it is a very comprehensive course. It is run on a Big 5 game reserve where we do all of our practical training. You will get your apprentice field guiding qualification and a whole bunch of extras that I will chat to you more about later. Anyone who is 18 or older can do the course. Just for students that are under 21 to be aware that they need a professional driving permit to be able to take paying guests on safari. So that would be required for your placement and a job afterwards. So slightly restrictive for students under 21, but we do have placement opportunities for under 21s, and some of our under 21s have gone on to get further opportunities during their placement or just after, purely because of the comprehensive course that they did and our reputation in the industry. So the duration is 23 weeks or 6 months if you include the off weeks and the time between the end of the course and the start of your 6-month work placement. So the total duration is about 50 weeks. The structure of our course, we really try and emphasize the practical side of the training, but obviously a theory exam is required to get the qualification and pass. So we try and focus on the theory in the beginning of the course leading up to your exam. Once that's out the way, we can really hone in on all the practicals that we'll be doing on the course, from game drives, bushwork, walks, birding, track and sign, trailing, that kind of thing. Part of how we can only do 30% theory on the course is that you will get a free 12-week online course for you signing up for our professional field guiding course, which will give you foundational knowledge, an idea of what modules are going to be covered during the course. You'll be able to meet fellow students and some of the trainers that will be with you on campus. It's very interactive, and it will just give you a little bit more knowledge, so that you don't feel totally overwhelmed with all the theory on campus. You can maybe focus on some of the subjects that you struggled with during the online course more on campus. And then afterwards, like I mentioned, you can do the 6-month guiding placements. So a lot of people say, well, there's so many courses out there. Why should anyone choose Bushwise? Well, we feel, and we know based on our research that we've done with what other people are offering, we have the best value for money over our competitors. We also consult with the lodges on a regular basis, finding out what kind of skills and additional qualifications they like when they hire field guides. So we include those kind of extras on our course to just make everyone a better, well-rounded entry-level guide and increase your levels of employment on your CV. You can get up to actually 9 certificates now, 5 of which are nationally recognized because we've added the trailing qualification to our course. And like I mentioned, you get a free 12-week online course prior to the course starting, which is valued at about 18,000 Rand. And when the results of FGASA were published on the FGASA website, before they updated the website, all the training providers' results were listed there. And for 6 years in a row, we were the best and the highest pass mark out of everyone at an average of 88%. So I think that just goes to show the level of training that goes into our courses and how excellent our trainers are in teaching those students. Like I said, we have quite a lot of extras, and we go way beyond the minimum requirements of the apprentice field guide, adding things like birding specialists, astronomy, things like that. And Bushwise has got quite a good reputation in the industry, having been around for 17 years now, and some of our trainers and ex-trainers that have worked in the industry. So when people hear that you've done a Bushwise course, that in itself would be a very big advantage entering the industry. Some of our graduates have gone on to work in some of the best lodges in and around South Africa and overseas, 5-star lodges where they are earning really, really good salaries, good tips, and living the dream, basically. We basically guarantee placements for any student that qualifies for a placement as long as you pass the course. And we assist with students finding a placement based on their interests, their background, their qualifications, and also looking at what the placement venue is wanting out of that particular placement students, soft skills, characteristics. So we try and marry those two very carefully just to optimize your chances of getting a job offer during that time. So we have 2 start dates annually, the 7th of January and the 8th of July. We've recently just started the course in July, and the students have just gone on their first off week and they're doing exceptionally well, very, very excited. And that's always exciting to see a new bunch of students and that are so enthusiastic. Like we mentioned, the durations, it's on campus, accreditation is through FGASA and CAPCETA, so it is a nationally recognized qualification. Anyone 18 or older can do the course. And then we do have the 14-day practical apprentice trails guide add-on option. Then specifically for South Africans that are between 21 and 39 doing the 50-week course, there is actually a job offer guarantee and a 50% money back guarantee. Those details are outlined in our T's and C's if you want to have a look. But basically, if you have done everything that you need to do on the course that is required of you and you complete your placement, there should be no reason why you wouldn't get a job offer. And this offer is actually based on our statistics post-COVID. as we did have 100% employment rates for any students that were between 21 and 39 that were from South Africa that did our 50-week course. So that is a pretty cool statistic. Right, our new 60-day safari guiding course. Our first one happened this year in April, and it was amazing. We got great feedback from the students, and we try and involve our course to kind of fit the feedback. And our next one started on the 7th of July as well, and it is going really, really well. It is basically a compressed version of our flagship course, our professional field guiding course. You still get all the theory and practical to get the apprentice field guiding qualification. It just doesn't include all the little juicy extras on our field guiding course. It also does not include a work placement. So just keep that in mind, because we feel those extras and the placement are quite important. I would say that anyone who was looking at this course should do it because of lifestyle work commitments. They perhaps don't have more than 2 months to get off to do this course. Anyone that wants to come for the experience and not necessarily a qualification, but they want kind of a more in-depth safari experience where they're learning a lot more than they would on a normal safari. So it's totally a unique safari and learning experience. It's also for people that perhaps don't have the budget to come out to do the long-term course. We do understand that the price is quite a lot because of how long it is and how comprehensive it is. So we're trying to make it as affordable and realistic for some people as possible to get this and follow their dream. For internationals, they do not need to come on a study visa, a tourist visa or visitor's visa for 90 days would be fine. So yeah, that just makes it a little bit easier for internationals to come out and do that as well. So 60 days is the duration. It's pretty much full on every single day. You might have a half day off here and there. And we do a lot of game drives and bushwalks, and also the online course is included in this course as well. So you can focus on the online course with theory. So you're not under as much pressure to go through all the theory once you're on the 60-day course. As mentioned before, no placements on this course. We already spoke about why you should do this course. So maybe you don't have the time or the budget to do the long-term course, but this is at least a second option. And we also have tried to make it as comprehensive as possible and still being really, really good value for money. So our next start date is the 25th of September. It's pretty much nearly fully booked. I think we have only one space left. The duration for this one is 8.5 weeks or 60 days. It's on campus. It's a FGASA and FGASA accredited as well. Anyone over 18 can do it. And then the cool thing about this course is you can do optional add-ons to fit in with those specific weeks that we do that extra training with our professional field guiding students. So if you are interested, for example, in doing the birding specialist or the rifle handling, you just let us know, and then we'll give you the dates and costs for that period. And you'll just fit into that after you've done the 60-day course together with the professional field guiding students, if this is something that you want to do over a space of time, because again, of time and budget constraints. 2024 dates is the 7th of January, 10th of April, 8th of July, and 25th of September. Just a heads up, if we are successful with this course and getting more bookings than we've expected, we might even run this course back to back, meaning that it will be from the 7th of January, for example, to the 7th of March, then the 8th of March for 60 days and so forth. So there might be additional dates in 2024, but we will announce this on our website and let people know about these additional dates for the 60-day course once we start getting a little bit more bookings. January is already fully booked. So this is why we're super excited about how this course is going in terms of the interest in the markets again. So this is a bit of the theory that we do on the professional field guiding course and the 60-day safari guiding course. We follow the 18 modules through FGASA. It is covered on the online course as well as in classroom lecture sessions with videos, basically some samples of certain things. For example, if we're talking about mammals, we might be able to show you a skull, things like that. And then we try and encompass the classroom sessions with a practical session. So for example, you might do a lecture on botany in the morning. In the afternoon, we might be focusing a little bit more on plants during game drives. So a lot of people that do this kind of work are more practically inclined, and doing it this way tends to help people retain the information practically from learning those things in the classroom. 75% is needed to pass the theory exam as well as the practical assessment. So that is something that is quite high, but it is 100% doable. We have very, very low failure rates. And of course, don't worry, you can always rewrite. So that is always an option. So here are some of the modules that are covered, from geology to biomes, birds, conservation management. It goes quite in depth with multiple topics that you can talk about on Game Drive. And we teach you the practical side of these things as well. The practical really goes in depth with practical game drives where students actually get to go behind the wheel from day dot. We want to fit in as much practical training as possible, and having the students behind the wheel will certainly do that. The trainers are there to guide them and show them how to be storytellers and interpret the bush around them and just give their guests an immersive experience. Once you have done the theory exam and all the practical training is done, that would lead then up to the practical assessment. And you really get to spend every day in the bush, if not on campus, but outside on the game reserve as well, whether it's a bushwalk or game drives. The FGASA qualification is recognized through CASITA. It's known as the Apprentice Field Guiding NQF 2. It has just recently changed to Nature Guide NQF 2 again, just because of CASITA, but people still call it FGASA Level 1 as well. So whether you call it FGASA Level 1, Apprentice Field Guide NQF 2, or Nature Guide NQF 2, it is all the same thing. And then we also include the FGASA Trails Guiding Theory exam on our course towards the end of the course. The other juicy extras that I was talking about that is included on our long-term course is very, very important. And we feel that these extra things just give you those additional skills. Great to put on your CV, additional certificates, and just makes you more employable and more experienced at the end of the day. First aid qualification is mandatory to be a field guide. So we include a wilderness first aid course. Social media module is something quite new that we've only been doing for the last couple of years. It is about how to improve not only your social media platform or footprint, but also a lot of the lodges are using social media to share their guest experience or marketing and sales, and just showing people what they can experience if they visited that particular lodge. And a lot of the people that contribute to that is the guides, because they are in the field all the time. So having those additional skills with social media is really, really important. We do a photography workshop, again, not only to improve your skills as a photographer, you've got the opportunity every single day being out in the bush for 8 to 10 hours, but also how to optimize photographic opportunities for your guests. Time of the day, positioning, composition, lighting, all of those kind of things. And so many people come to South Africa specifically for photographic opportunities. So we feel that is quite a nice skill to have. We also include hospitality training. Our focus on our course has a lot to do with the guest experience and the guided experience and how to be a great field guide with storytelling. You don't want a guide to come and show you a sighting and just give you 10 facts of a lion. You really want to understand what you are seeing, what behavior the lion is doing. And it takes a real person with creativity to tell a story, but also give you all of those facts. So we deal a lot with that on our course. We also include a reptile handling course, because being out in the bush, you will inevitably run into something, and knowing how to safely explain this to your guests and take snakes out of a dangerous situation is important. And because you will mostly be driving off-road 4x4 vehicles on uneven surfaces, we do a bit of 4x4 driving, basic vehicle mechanics, tire changing, because sometimes you are in a remote area, and knowing how to troubleshoot this yourself is quite important, I would say. We do basic astronomy, specifically during sleep outs when we have the opportunity late at night to see the stars in the middle of the bush. We do the Sasita firearm training. This is for business purposes and something that you might need, especially if you're wanting to go into trails guiding. The advanced rifle handling is also something that you would need if you're wanting to go into trails guiding. Only about 25% of our students pass this, so it is quite tricky and difficult, and we put you under pressure being able to handle that. But like I said, if you fail, you can always redo it, which is pretty cool. Then we do a track and sign course, which is understanding tracks and signs in the bush of different animals and being able to trail them to eventually find that animal. And this is quite a cool skill to have during trails guiding and even game drive when you are looking for specific animals that guests want to see on your drive. And then further practical trails experience course is optional as an add-on. It's a 14-day intensive practical, walking up to 7 hours per day. The advantage of doing this is being able to possibly do your placement with the trails guiding and field guiding qualification, and it will cost you a little bit less at the end of the day. The con of not doing it at the end of our course is that it might take you a little bit longer to obtain that qualification, and it might cost a little bit more at the end of the day. Some apprentice field guides do want to wait until they have more experience as a field guide before they do trails guiding, because it is quite a dangerous activity and does take a lot of responsibility taking guests out on foot in Big Five territory. But we will expose you to all of that on our courses so that you have better understanding of what this entails, what it involves, what it feels like, most importantly, and then you can make a decision of whether you want to do that during the course, at the end of the course, or during your career. So the advanced rifle handling is how to safely handle a firearm. This is done once you have passed your trails guide theory, and it involves shooting high caliber firearms and then being able to navigate a potential situation where you or your guests are getting charged by a dangerous animal. Hopefully, the way we train our students, especially with trails guiding, that you would never be in one of these situations in the first place, because a good trails guide is one where sometimes the animals don't even know that you're present. So hopefully you'll never be in the situation, but in case you do, animals are unpredictable. The bush is always different on every other day. It is always important to know what to do in dangerous situations. So student life is something that we love to highlight. It is the experience that you're going to have at the end of the day on campus. No 2 days are ever the same. The people that are on the course are like-minded people. You're all there for the same reason. You have a passion for nature. You are enthusiastic about conservation and spreading awareness and being with people and talking to people about all of these things, being a teacher at the end of the day. So you will meet like-minded people. You'll learn about how the industry works, how you do vehicle checks, how to prepare your game drive, welcoming guests, things like that. So this is a typical day. It could be the days that we do practical training, be a game drive or a bushwalk, quite early in the morning. Brunch is then served at 11. We then have a break in the afternoon. Sometimes there's like a slideshow or sights and sounds. That's optional. And then late afternoon, we do another practical activity like a game drive or bushwalk, and then dinner is served after that. When we are doing classroom days, it would be an early morning lecture, brunch again at 11, break in the afternoon, another afternoon session, and then dinner. But like we said, we try and do a lecture and a game drive, or a game drive and a lecture. We try and switch it up quite a bit so that you're not in the classroom all the time. We have 2 amazing campuses. We have 2 campuses because of our capacity. We've had more and more students book our courses over the years, and we needed to expand. Students cannot choose which campus to go on. It is a random selection, and we look at the diversity of the 2 groups selected in terms of age, gender, nationality, background. We like each group to be quite diverse, meeting people from around the world and having those experiences together is something quite unique. You will meet people that might become lifelong friends. You might even meet your life partner, who knows. These things have happened on our courses. So the first one is at the Southern African Wildlife College. We've partnered with them in that we share the campus grounds with them, but our courses are completely run independently by Bushwise. The staff is Bushwise staff, and all the activities and lectures and meals are separate from the college students, but at least you do get to socialize with them being on the same campus. We have our own area for accommodation, our own dining room, and then the campus facilities are general gym area, recreational area. There is a communal dining room. We have a lecture room, and there's an amazing extensive library there as well. The property that you'll be doing game drives on is near Open Gate, and it is located in the Greater Kruger National Park. So you're just around the corner from Kruger National Park, where you can go there on your off days by yourself or with friends. The other campus is the Mashlashla campus. Mashlashla means branch in Shangaan. It is located on the other side of Hoedspruit, close to the Makalali Private Game Reserve. The accommodation there is slightly different in that it's thatched bungalows, but the facilities are very similar: communal bathrooms, communal dining area, communal kitchen, communal recreational area, braai area, and space to walk around and have some freedom on the campus as well. Yeah, as I said, the campus is quite full on during the week. Saturday mornings are spent recapping, filling in workbooks, things like that. Then from the afternoon, you have Saturdays off and Sundays off as well, where you are able to go out, leave campus, go to Kruger for the day, or do something like that. So here are a few photos of our students around and about on campus and on game drive. It just, you can feel the energy from all of the students on campus and how happy they are, and the time that they had really changing. It is a very immersive experience. It doesn't come without difficulties and challenges. Of course, there are those things that happen on our course as well. The course can be quite demanding, but at the end of the day, it is extremely gratifying for a lot of these students to go through that and pass the course and start their careers in the bush. So a little bit more about why you should choose Bushwise. I think I mentioned this earlier on, but the trainers for us are incredibly important and special. At the end of the day, they are going to be with the students the most on campuses in the field, and being taught by good teachers is super important, and the experience that you're going to get is really important. So excellent field guides don't always make brilliant teachers, and mediocre field guides can make excellent teachers. So it's about finding the right staff member, and we feel like we've really done that because we've had staff members that have been with us for 8 years plus. We've got some new people that have joined us recently, which we're very excited about, and they come from all walks of life with multiple experiences at different game reserves. So pick your brains as much as you can. If you do choose to do one of our courses, you are going to learn years and years and years of experience that they had in a very short amount of time. So I think I have covered everything. Thank you for being present, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative. If you have any other questions, let me know. You can contact me via email, phone, or whatever, or put your questions now in the Q&A box.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. It's always fantastic to hear from you and hear more about our courses. Also so great to hear that they are so popular and almost fully booked. Awesome. We've had a few really good questions from Gerald. Sorry, Gerald, if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Gerald's first question is, does a student complete the online course before starting the on-campus course?
Yes, so it is something that is a free inclusion anyway. It doesn't take too much of your time to commit to, only about 10 hours per week if you're a fast learner, quicker than that. So a little over an hour every day, or compressed over a weekend if you have work or lifestyle commitments. It is something that benefits the students hugely. Prepping with Q&As and assignments, meeting fellow students, breaking that ice, meeting the trainers, knowing a little bit more what to expect on campus and being a little bit more prepared. So for the professional field guiding course, it is compulsory. If you are not able to do that for whatever reason, of course, you can let us know. And it is also included for the 60-day course. So whoever does the course, the online course before the on-campus course, it will just be a massive, massive benefit. Alternatively, what some people do is they start with the online course if they're not 100% sure, they don't want to fully commit to a long-term course and pay all that money when they're not, 100% sure on if this is the right path for them. And then later on, they can choose to then add on the 60-day course or the professional field guiding course, in which case, whatever you've paid for the online course will be credited towards that course. And then another possible option, which I didn't mention before, which is also something new and that we tailor make in a customized way, is if people really have budget and time constraints, there is an option for a 30-day practical. This is the only condition of this course, is that you have to have passed your theory exam beforehand, either with our online course, doing it self-study, or another training provider. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's a FGASA exam, and then coming out to do our practical course for 30 days, which is full steam ahead with just game drives, leading up to you doing your practical assessment. So that is also an option. If you want more information about that as well, it is not on our website. It is not something that we have put out there fully yet, but it is something that I'm willing to discuss with anyone if they have time constraints, budget constraints, and this is really their only option.
Awesome. We now have that on a recording. So Kim, that might be getting a bit more interested next while. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Perfect. The other thing I wanted to mention is that some people just come for that 30 days for the experience, not necessarily the qualification. So we've seen more and more people wanting to do this. So it's 2 different people that might want to attend that 30-day course. So it's quite interesting what's happening out there.
Absolutely. And I'm sure probably also very appealing to internationals who, might have visa issues or might only have, a month off or that sort of thing. So
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Awesome. Hopefully we can put that on the website soon. Awesome. Okay, my next question, Gerald's next question is the placement for 6 months. Is this an internship or do students earn an income during this placement? Part 1 of the question. And then part 2 are there any costs that the student would incur whilst completing this placement?
Great question. So a work placement is very similar, or it is an internship, as a lot of people over abroad refer to it as. It is not paid, but your costs is reduced greatly because all of our placements include food and accommodation. And the typical work cycle would be 3 weeks working, 1 week off, or 6 weeks working and 1 week off, and you're on site. So your expenses are quite limited. Every now and again, a placement could offer a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a student salary or a loan or an advance, something like that. But those are limited, so we don't really mention that. The expenses that you could incur of your placement is really just your personal expenses. And if you want to leave your venue during off weeks to travel back home, things like that. Additional expenses on the courses, I think, is something I would just also like to add to that. We try and make the course as comprehensive as possible. So any additional expenses are quite limited to personal expenses, kits and equipment that is not included. We do include uniform already. So when I talk about personal kit, it's things like binoculars, camera, hats, sunglasses, that kind of thing. Medical insurance is not included. Travel insurance is not included for the international students. And of course, the visa costs and flights are not included.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We haven't had any more questions yet. I'm going to give everyone a couple more minutes. But I know something that attendees words, people joining us for these webinars are usually interested in is finding out more about how placements work. How do you decide where you go? Do you get to decide where you go? How are you assigned to your placement? Could you talk us through that in a little bit more detail?
Another great question, Amanda. I think we should actually add that into the presentation, because this is actually really, really important. At the end of the day, this is the working experience that you're going to get. So part of the Bushwise course involves an evaluation of your soft skills from the very minute you step onto campus. The trainers are keeping a close eye on all their students, and we evaluate things like your personality, your characteristics, your leadership skills, your teamwork, your initiative, your attitude? Are you on time? Your presentability, your interpersonal skills. For us, that's way, way more important than somebody getting 99% on exams. So at the end of every semester, students get feedback on how they are doing. And based on this as well, when we are looking for placements partners or finding placements, students for our placement venues, they already give us quite a great idea of what they're looking for in a student. Some placements might want somebody that is a little bit more mature, that has got certain work experiences. Some placements are looking for somebody who might be more interested in conservation. Some people even ask for somebody with a great sense of humor. So it is quite in detail and in depth. And we really try and marry what the placement wants and what the student wants together. So when the placement starts getting looked at by our placement manager, we take that into consideration. We tell them about certain students that we might have in mind for them. Based on that, we go back to the students. We say that we've got these placements available. They'll then let us know if they're really opposed to it or sounds intriguing. We give them information more about that actual venue. We then arrange an interview, just like a job interview, either in person or via Zoom. And if both parties are happy, they sign a contract and the student then goes on to do their placements. As far as students being able to choose what placement they go to, they are not allowed to, or there's no real scope for them to be specific with a specific kind of lodge, like I want to go to Mala Mala or anything like that, because that is not something we can guarantee. But if they have an idea of where they want to go, for example, an area or a type of placement that maybe does a little bit more conservation work or research or works with volunteers, that kind of thing, or focuses on photography, we always keep that in mind. And then we try and make the students happy. For any reason, if the student is not happy with the placement, we then get them a second placement option. If they are not happy with the second option, we give them a third and final option. And hopefully from there, we can move forward and arrange that placement.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, that's very cool. I know that we've had speakers join us before. Jenica, for example, Bushwise alumni, who was speaking, she was speaking about her experience doing horse trail safaris, and I think that that's also something that's becoming more and more popular. So wonderful, I think, to know that there is the option for you to be to show what it is that you are, the direction that you're interested in moving in, and just see if the stars align and there is the space for you to kind of move into that in as early as your placement. So yeah, I think that is it for now with regard to questions. Nothing else at the moment, but if anyone does have any questions, please do continue to just pop them in the Q&A box. We'll be back after our next talk to answer them again. Kim, thank you so much. Really appreciate learning more from you as always. Right, now we're going to unfortunately, Annie couldn't be here with us today. Annie is our Bushwise communications lead, but she has in the past done an amazing talk at our open days about her personal experience as an international, working in conservation in South Africa and now working for Bushwise. So we are going to be playing that talk for you now, and then yes, Kim and I will be back online on your screens after the talk to answer any more questions. So do we have, Kim, I think you are still sharing your screen. Are you able to stop sharing your screen? And then we are going to have Maria pop on our, thank you very much. Maria is our tech host in the background, working the magic. Thank you very much, Maria. And yeah, take it away.
Hey everyone, just to get started, I'm sorry that I'm not able to be there live today, traveling this weekend unfortunately, but I'm so happy to be able to do a little presentation for you and chat with you about my experience. Even though I'm not there now, I have given my, my email address to the group on this presentation. Please reach out to me if you have any questions based on what I'm going to go over now. For those of you who are also from the States or from abroad, I'm very happy to help out with any questions, in particular around being an international student doing a FGASA course. I work for Bushwise, but I have gone through the whole process myself as well. So I can definitely answer questions if you have anything around that in particular. I'm just going to go ahead and get started by sharing my screen and doing sharing a presentation with you. So let me just pull that up. Okay. All right, so that's starting off with a picture of me looking over at a couple of white rhinos here in South Africa. So my story is about coming from the United States to South Africa and getting involved in conservation as a career. I know that a lot of you that are on this call are interested in following a conservation career or a guiding career or working in ecotourism or something related. So this presentation is really about showing you that there are a lot of different avenues that you can take after doing a FGASA course, whether you do a 6-month course or a 60-day course or a full year with Bushwise. There are a lot of different options that are going to be available to you. So as you can see on this slide, my email address is down at the bottom, and Amanda can also share this directly with anyone who's got any questions for me. So who am I? And how did I end up here? So that's a picture of me, as you can probably tell, and those are wild dogs in the background. And I've lived in South Africa now for about 8 years, a little over 8 years. Originally from Texas. And right now I work for Bushwise as the communications lead, and am in the meantime also studying for a master's degree in resource conservation biology. But there's been quite a long process for me to get to where I am now. So I'm going to be telling you a little bit about that, and hopefully it'll connect to your story as well. So as many of us do at some point in our life, I thought my career was going to follow a normal trajectory. I was going to start off in an entry-level role related to conservation, or in my other life in policy and government, and then slowly move my way up the ladder, as it were. But as it goes, it didn't look anything like that. My career has taken me all different directions as I've figured out who I am, where I want to go, and what I want to be. A little bit like this adorable little wild dog puppy rolling down a hill. Sometimes feels like that. The basic premises, especially for those of us, I think, who are looking at conservation careers, there is no one size fits all. There's no one career path for everyone. So I am 35 this year, and I've been working for about 20 years. Started young in the States. I was working at a bakery when I was just a kid. But moving all the way up, I've just had a lot of different jobs trying to figure out what I want to do. If you have a glance just at this list, there are things like whitewater kayak instructor, a lot of fun, university foundation fundraising officer, not as much fun, but also very important for career development. Freelance writer and editor, that's what I was doing for the first couple of years that I was here in South Africa. Zoo volunteer, a way for me to fill my time when I was desperate to spend time around wildlife living in Johannesburg. Small business owner, I have my own tour company. National Park Kayak Guide, we'll get into that. And then finally working for Bushwise at the end. But there's lots of different things in this. And when I look at the typical Bushwise crowd that comes through, we often have people who are graduating from high school or finishing college, and then they're looking to enter their career by going into a FGASA course or doing something with Bushwise, and then going on from there, whether, like I said, it's in ecotourism or in conservation. But we also have a lot of people who come mid-career and are just changing the trajectory of their career, their job, the direction that they're going. And I absolutely love that we get that variety, because you also see this amazing relationships developing on the campuses between students of all different ages, all different backgrounds, all different career goals, all different study experiences, career experiences, maturity levels, interests, passions, existing knowledge about the bush. All of that stuff just blends into an amazing cohort of students on the different campuses. So people who have a crazy topsy-turvy sort of background like me, they find their niche and their fit in. And people who come directly out of school also find a way to fit in. You'll find that very quickly on a Bushwise course, on a FGASA course, you meet people with who are like-minded, who have the same sorts of passions and interests as you, even though you might have completely different backgrounds. Students on our courses become friends, and their friendships last their whole lives. So it's so much more than just making sure you fit into some kind of box as to who should be on this course, because really, if you're passionate about wildlife and interested in conservation, you belong on a course like this. So in 2019, this was pretty early, you know, maybe I was halfway through the second column of that list of jobs, and 2019 hit. I'd been working in an office. I'd been doing policy work. I'd been using my first master's degree, which is in global policy studies, and I'd been doing research and writing on big policy subjects, security, nuclear policy, that kind of thing. Very different. And I realized I just wasn't cut out for it. I wasn't cut out for sitting at an office doing, you know, normal desk work for long hours a day, because I didn't have the passion. I didn't feel inspired by it. And I realized being able to choose something you're inspired by is a luxury, but hopefully a luxury that we can all manage to have in our lives at some point. So I left the office and I found a FGASA course. And I headed over to the bush, and I did essentially the same as what our 60-day course is here at Bushwise. I did a 55-day course because for me at the time, and some of you might have this experience as well, I couldn't really pull away for longer. I had a relationship. I had a situation in Johannesburg, you know, with my house and my life and everything that I needed to come back to. And I wasn't sure if I was going to go on to a career as a guide, but I wanted to experience what it was like. I wanted it for all of the different reasons people here might, for career development, for growth, personal growth, for interest in the bush, for exploring a pet passion, for, you know, bringing out that part of my soul that loves conservation and wanted to do that so badly. So I could afford all my resources, my time, and everything. I could afford to go to a 55-day course. So I did that. I became a field guide. And I loved it, but it did so much more than just teach me about the bush. It opened my eyes to just some incredible things that I saw while I was on the course. That's me driving a game viewer in Olifants River Game Reserve. Just seeing things that I'd never seen before and getting to have some sort of ownership in the way that you lead people through the bush and transfer that knowledge. It was just an incredible thing to be able to do. That really opened my eyes. I made friends with people who I would never have dreamed of even meeting before. And I spent 60 days, you know, in a small space with them in tents and camping. I was on a relatively rustic course, but no matter what the setup was, it was just about immersing myself in 2 months of the bush and studying FGASA modules and learning from my instructors and going to sleep every single night to the sound of hyenas laughing in the background, waking up in the morning to the dawn chorus of multitudes of birds. And of course, it opened up doors. I shouldn't say of course, but ideally and luckily, it did open up doors. And it helped launch my career in conservation. Before that, I dabbled in conservation. And at this point, I was able to actually have something on my CV and experience that gave me the push that I needed to actually enter that industry. My very first job after doing the FGASA program was Wildlife and Trade Program Manager for the Endangered Wildlife Trust. And I think the moral of that whole story for me was that I just kept saying yes to the opportunities that were coming to me, even if they were slightly different than what I had planned, because it was opening up doors as I went. But shit happens. So I went back to the United States, and during COVID, and I became a kayak guide. This is a little video from one of my tours. And this was up in Maine in the States. And again, I had to say yes to different opportunities because the world threw a bit of a curveball at me. I left the bush in South Africa. I went back to the United States, and I actually became a kayak guide, which tour guiding is one of the avenues that you can take after doing a FGASA course, because becoming a field guide involves learning how to plan a guided experience in a natural environment and doing it in an educated, knowledgeable way, and being able to transfer that information to your guests in a way that's informative and interesting and engaging, right? So I captured those skills, took them back to the States with me, and worked as a state kayak guide. Also a very intensive training program to become a Maine state kayak guide, because there are coastal tides and there's a lot of possible dangers around kayaking in the ocean with dramatic tides. But honestly, a lot of what I learned when I was doing my field guide course helped me through that whole process. So it was just a great way to navigate a possible, slip up that turned into a really great opportunity thanks to COVID-19. But I came back. I came back to South Africa. There's no way I was going to stay away. When COVID calmed down, I was able to come back to Johannesburg at first and then make my way over to Hoedspruit. One of the things I've always really enjoyed doing is taking photos. So wildlife photos like these and playing with colors and having a little bit of fun was something that drove me as well. And it's something that when you're on a FGASA, when you're on a Bushwise course, we do encourage photography, we encourage social media, sharing your experience, and there are programs throughout the course where we help and work with you to understand little tips and tricks and ways to improve that. But I decided to add on a little bit more. I have one master's degree, like I mentioned, in policy, and I thought, why the heck not? Let me add a second one. So I'm still working on that. It's a never-ending process, lifelong academic. But I decided to start studying wild dogs. Through my connections with the Endangered Wildlife Trust, I do research on wild dogs around the Hoedspruit area. And actually on both of the Bushwise campuses, we often see wild dogs, well, one of them in particular more, but there are wild dogs in the area at both of the Bushwise campuses, which is just incredible because in South Africa, there's only maybe 650 wild dogs left. So the thing that I really took out of my FGASA course and the following opportunities that have come up, including working for Bushwise, is that becoming a field guide is about just constantly learning. If you think of nature and the wild and the bush as being your classroom and being your teachers, facilitated by the amazing trainers that Bushwise has, you will always see and learn something new. So even in studying wild dogs and trying to develop a dissertation and hone in on a research project where scientists are looking to answer questions, really at the end of the day, animals always surprise us and always do something new. It's one thing that I love about Bushwise so much, because when our trainers work with students, they talk about storytelling, they talk about interpreting animal behavior, they talk about taking the knowledge that you gain from the books and everything that you learn about the way things are in our world, the way the ecosystems work, the way the abiotic and biotic elements of an environment interact with one another to make it work, and observing the way things actually happen every single day that you're out in the bush, every game drive you go on, and how things will always change and animals will always surprise us and do something different. It's just an incredible thing to take away, because Bushwise really looks to create guides that create a more holistic, interpretive, immersive experience for their guests, as opposed to regurgitating information and guiding in a way that doesn't engage the guests. And that's something I think is incredibly important. And if that's something you're passionate about and you're interested in, then Bushwise is definitely the right way to go. But what does this have to do with you is the end of the question, or the end of the presentation really, is that growth looks like different things to everyone. So you might be 18 years old, graduating, or matriculating, and this is the next step in your career. This is the first step, I should say, in your career, because you really want to become a field guide. You've heard about it, you've grown up around the bush, your family's gone to Kruger National Park ever since you were a kid, you have spent a lot of time on farms, game farms, you know wildlife, or you want to learn more about wildlife. Or you could be 35 years old and the career that you've been in hasn't been satisfying, or you've decided now it's time for a really good sabbatical or a gap in your career. And this is just a stepping away completely from that version of your life into something new. Or you could be in your 50s, and this could be, maybe you're in a semi-retirement stage and you've decided, let me just go and try something totally new. We've had people who do that as well, and it's amazing. Or you could be an international student at a different age who's just graduating from college and heard that you could become a safari guide, because to be honest, for most of us in the States, that's like the most foreign idea possible, but it's real and it's very possible. And we have a lot of international students. Most of the campuses, or sorry, most of the student body as a whole is about 60% South African, 40% international, but that also shifts every year. So really you could be coming from anything and everything. And if I didn't touch on your specific situation, I'm sorry, but there are so many different options, really. And the thing is, we have people coming from all different backgrounds. So your growth can look like whatever you want your growth to look like. But at the end of the day, by choosing to do a FGASA course, choosing to join a Bushwise course, you're making a really good decision because it's going to improve your CV. It's going to give you skills that can be transferred to any other opportunity. It's going to immerse you in the bush for either 2 months, 6 months, or a year. It's going to expose you to people of all backgrounds. It's going to give you opportunities to see things that most people only watch on a David Attenborough documentary. It's going to make you realize things about yourself. It's going to give you the opportunity for personal growth. It's going to connect you to new friends. It's going to build amazing new relationships. The only thing at the end of the day is to ask, do I have the resources? Do I have the time? Is this something that I can do? Is this something I want to do? If the answer to all of that is yes, then you should do it. And that gets back to you again. If you're here now on this call, it means you're ready to make a big change, which is just, I mean, obviously you have to do the research. You want to know that you're making the right decision. Bushwise is an amazing organization. I've worked for them for almost 2 years now. I am constantly blown away by the passion of the trainers, by the keen interest shown by management, by how invested every single person is on this team in the growth of each and every single one of the field guides. The placement opportunities that come up at the end, the career growth that you're going to see, it's just absolutely fantastic. So, I mean, you can read this a little bit for yourself, but no matter what career path you choose, this opportunity will really only make you a better, happier, stronger version of yourself. Might be a little bit biased, but that's it. So I'm writing questions, but really I'm not here to answer any because I'm unfortunately recording this video. So if you do have any questions, please email me. Again, you can see my email address down there at the bottom of the screen, annie.dupre@gviprograms.com. And I hope this was helpful to you. And I really appreciate you taking the time to join us on this Bushwise Virtual Open Day. Thanks so much. Back to you, Amanda.
Awesome. Helps if I would unmute. Awesome. I want to say thank you so much, Annie, but yeah, she's not here technically. But yeah, I hope that all of you who are here with us today enjoyed that. I know I just love hearing, I've heard that talk so many times and I still love hearing it because I just think it's absolutely wild. And it's just so inspiring to have somebody speaking about all the different things that they've done and just kind of be challenged to think about the different ways that your career journey could go if you decided to just be open to new things and just go for, you know, what you are interested in at the time, that where you feel like you should be moving. So I just love that talk. So thank you so much, Annie. And yes, if you do have questions for Annie, please do feel free to pop her a mail. I'm sure she'd love to hear from you. And I'm now going to hand over to Ben, who is one of our Bushwise alumni. And Ben is going to be speaking about his Bushwise experience. Ben, I see you are here on your phone. Is that right? Do we have you?
Yeah, 100%. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. How are you doing today?
Perfect. I'm doing great. I do apologize if my internet does break off at times because I'm in the very northern parts of Kruger.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Well, I'm going to hand over to you and let you do your thing. Looking forward to hear what you have to say.
Perfect. Okay. Is everyone able to actually see me? I have no idea. I can't see.
Yes, we can see you.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, perfect. So yeah, this is just my little presentation or talk to, just share my journey, I guess, what I've had in Bushwise since the beginning of the year. So I think we can, perfect. So who am I? So my name is Ben, as you guys have just heard. I'm 30 years old, and I'm half German, half English. I come from the very northern parts of England and also the northern parts of Germany. So I started actually my course at the beginning of the year, which started in just, I think, the first week of January. And, you know, now we're halfway through the year. So I've completed my Bushwise and I'm also, oops, my bad, sorry. Hang on, sorry, there you go. I'm back online. And yeah, I've completed my training at the beginning of the year, and I'm currently now in my placement parts, but I've got some time off now, so that's why I wanted to take the opportunity to actually give back to everyone else who was interested in joining Bushwise as well. Perfect. So why I decided to go to Bushwise, yeah. So as mentioned in the slide, I've been going quite frequently to Africa since I'm quite young. I started off with holidays in predominantly South Africa. I think me and my family are big fans of Africa. So they took me from an early age, because I was always quite wildlife and nature orientated. We started going to South Africa because I was quite young, as mentioned. We went to, first of all, some of the nicer lodges, which is a bit more predominantly more safe. We then kind of progressively each year, because we went pretty much every year, we kind of stepped it up a notch, if you want to say. So we started off with lodges and went to various camps, which are maybe a little bit more rustical. We went to Kruger National Park. Sorry. Went through all the self-drive parts of Kruger National Park. So we drove from camp to camp, which I'm pretty much doing now as well. So some things don't change. And then we kind of progressed from there. At one point, I remember we booked ourselves a guide, actually, and we did an overlanding trip. So we started off in South Africa from Joburg, and then moved ourselves through South Africa up to Botswana, and then also up to Zimbabwe, to Victoria Falls, which is very beautiful as well. And from there, I just kept wanting the next step. And, from there onwards, I think it was actually my aunt at that point. She actually did a professional field guide course. I think she kind of wanted to break away from the big city. So she did a professional field guide course. And she told me that even though it was more of a gap year for her, she told me how wonderful it was. And I remember trying to get signal with her, trying to phone her sometimes. So she was telling me all these amazing stories. And that kind of ignited, in a sense, if you want to say, like a fire, and wanting to do the same. So I think when I was now 26 or so, I did a bit of research. And so as mentioned, in 2018, I did actually my professional field guide course with Eco Training, which is a different training provider. Did my full-year course as well. That would include the training part of things and also the placement parts. So I did that, super enjoyed that. I actually continued working in Namibia for a while. The Caprivi Strip, which is the very northern parts of Namibia, close to the borders of Angola. And gobsmacked by all the wildlife and how much I enjoyed the job itself, actually. And so I worked there for my placement part, and also worked there a little bit longer with the visa situation. And then with going up to COVID times, as previously mentioned by Annie, COVID was obviously hard on all of us, I would say. And I went back home, and then obviously COVID lasted longer than expected. So I was back home, I was doing the usual jobs that I was doing beforehand. I worked predominantly in hospitality, which I still enjoy. And it's, especially guiding industry and lodging and camps is very hospitality orientated as well, I would say. So, you need to deal with people often as well. But there's obviously various fields of the actual industry. But I really enjoyed that part. And then, throughout the time, there was self-reflection. I really wanted to just get back into the bush. So every day I was kind of thinking about it. So at that point, I did a bit of more research and, researched. And my first thoughts obviously went to Eco Training again, but researched, looked it up again. I was okay, but I wanted to see what else is there out there. So I actually stumbled across Bushwise, and so I actually knew someone who worked at Bushwise. So I said, okay, let me hit this guy up, talk to him, and I said, okay, how is it actually? And he said, honestly, I'm not even going to sugarcoat this. This is actually really good. This is an amazing place to be. Did a bit more research on Bushwise, and Bushwise, from what I saw online of videos, of reviews, whatever it was, it really stood out to me. So that's why I decided to, get all my resources together, if it's money, if it's, all the things that I had to sort out before the course. And I decided to join for the January course of this year of Bushwise. Perfect. Yeah. Otherwise, as I mentioned as well, my Bushwise experience so far. So my Bushwise experience, as mentioned, beginning of the course that started in January, it really, because I knew what to kind of expect with a professional field guide course, I guess, because I did it previously. But honestly, it's really, really went over the what I expected. So some things obviously were familiar to me, especially some of the theoretical parts of things. But being out of the bush for so many years, it was I had to relearn a lot of them, and so getting back into that study mode was difficult. But especially me being a bit older as well, I'm not fresh out of school, so for me getting back into studying as well was quite challenging at times. But again, if you really enjoying a particular course, like anything to do with wildlife orientated, it comes easier with time, I guess. So my Bushwise experience has been amazing. As seen in the picture as well, this selfie of me and some of my colleagues from Bushwise. We've gotten really close, all of us. Currently, actually, I'm on my off leave now with one of the other students from my course as well. So we're just doing a bit of Kruger trips, and so really has, from the making lifelong friends, it's made an incredible impact. The trainers that we had were, every trainer that we had was our mentor, but obviously with time, they really inspire you. Everyone has their own little, let's say, perks that you learn more of. If it's, hard to put that in perspective. Every trainer really had their own specialities, you could say. And it was inspiring for me to being allowed to be taught by them. So that was really something. Sorry, my bad. My eyes are bad. As mentioned in the slide just now, because I was used by my old training provider that you would have your courses that you would do and study the certain modules that we had. But when it came down to Bushwise, actually, they didn't want to train average field guide. So we would study the course material that we needed to, but they actually wanted to push us even further beyond. So we would sometimes the instructors would take their own time and actually try to push us to a further height, which was absolutely amazing. So I learned, in a sense, way beyond than we had to, in a sense. And so for me, that was obviously, if you're willing to, and that was quite special to me because normally I'm used to do those instructors to basically just teach the average, and that's pretty much it. And then it's up to you what you make out of it. But they really, you could see really how they cared and how they wanted you to succeed in the industry. So they didn't just want to be average, Perfect. Thank you. So, so the impact that Bushwise had on my life. So, as I mentioned as well, I've already mentioned actually quite a lot of these facts. Bushwise has really impacted me because we as field guides, I would say, we just don't want to be just an average field guide that works in a maybe potentially, or I want to be a field guide, so I don't want to work in an average lodge and have an average salary and have an average happiness level, So I want to push myself to greater heights, and I want to be at the places I want to be at. And so having these mentors and friends, and we sat down, and when we were studying for various modules like birds, we were sat down, doing little more we call bird parties, but we made the most out of it. It was fun, and we wanted to achieve a new height. So basically pushing ourselves, or you have to obviously push yourself as well to get there, but having yourself, your friends and colleagues and your instructors basically have you back and push you to that certain level, it was amazing. So for me, the impact that Bushwise has made is, mind-blowing. Perfect, thank you. So the impact of Bushwise that had on my life and my career. So as mentioned before, I'm on my placement right now. So I finished my 6 months of Bushwise. And so currently I'm at a camp called Isambane Bush Camp. It's part of Parsons Nature Reserve, which is, you could say, like the part of the Balula area, which is not too far actually from the Bushwise campus. It's just outside the Hoodspit area, where some of our campuses are. So I know for a lot of internationals, maybe not directly to the South Africans, but for the internationals, as myself, it can be challenging getting a permanent position afterwards. But I would say it's always just about persistence and really wanting that career for a lifetime. So I've been going at it now for since I started in 2018, and it's got its ups and downs, but I'm getting there. And I've actually, on one of my off times, which you'll have on Bushwise, I was organizing way before that my permanent residence, which was obviously challenging, lots of paperwork. But so in one of my off times, I handed in my permanent residence, and potentially it's looking like it might get approved by the end of this year or beginning of next year, which would be amazing. I'm definitely gonna have a big party if that comes true. But so as Annie and the others have mentioned, it is very much possible. So it's just about being persistent, I guess. And I love it basically there. It's when I got to my placement as well, the placements are not always about guiding. It's about getting the insight of what it's like actually to be in a lodge. I've been a guest at quite a few lodges, and knowing how it is in placement now, seeing the background works of lodging in basically, it's very different. I had to do housekeeping for a week or two, and just follow the individual staff members just cleaning rooms, and I had a new respect for housekeeping, and it helped with maintenance, and but obviously the main focus hopefully is guiding as well, or at least for me it was. So I joined a lot of drives and saw amazing things, the same as Bushwise. We had amazing sightings, and I'm now at the stage already where after I think 3 or 4 weeks of me being on placement, I was able to guide. It's not for every camp, but from what I know, but it's about showing how eager you are to be in this field, and I think I proved myself. So it was. And now I'm guiding fully by myself. I finished my 6-week, 2-week cycle, and having a bit of time to rest now. And then, to be fair, I spend my time and off time now being in the bush, and I can't wait to go back to my placement as well, to being back in the bush. And then obviously, hopefully, with what I mentioned with my permanent residence, by the end of the year, when I have my graduation with Bushwise as well, there'll be a permanent position for me afterwards, which my camp is actually hoping for as well. So we're in constant communication with that. Perfect. Thank you. So again, I've kind of went too far with my slides, but as you guys see on my slide, I say about my permanent position, and I want to be in the bush as much as I can. I think it's Bushwise has helped me tremendously actually with throughout the course, which I haven't actually mentioned. Bushwise helps with so many extras that a lot of the training providers don't help, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat this and promote Bushwise always, but they really did help a lot. There's a thing called a PDP, which is a public driving permit, which you would need often at least in South Africa. And Sharon and some of the other members and Randy have helped me obtain it, which is amazing. Bushwise offers hospitality trainings, some courses on social media that have really helped us, and so that actually does help me in my future plans and goals, which is amazing. So that actually helps me with my permanent residence. It will help me actually proceed to the further goals that I want to go along with actually stepping into the guiding industry. So I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, perfect. So a lot of people go in this field, predominantly obviously the course that Bushwise offers is, obviously more predominantly field guide orientated, but, because I've got, I guess I had so many amazing mentors and stuff. So one of my big goals actually is to obviously, work more in the industry as a field guide, but with time and experience and maybe some more qualifications, I want to, my bigger goal is actually to become an instructor at one point as well. Same as I just saw Darryn join as well. He's been a big part as well. Nico and a lot of the other people that have mentored me throughout my Bushwise stay. So for me, becoming an instructor is definitely a milestone for me eventually, but before that, I need to study more. But becoming a mentor and actually being that person maybe that people look up to, and being that role model, and being a person that's, can inspire other people. So for me, that's a big milestone that I want to get to at one point. Perfect, thank you. Okay. Well, that's, I guess, my end of my slides. I hope you did appreciate it. And if there are any questions, more than welcome to message me, if it's through social medias, if it's through email. I'm more welcome to answer any questions if they're not asked now or later. It's more fine.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. That was fantastic. It was really, really great to hear about your your Bushwise experience and a little bit more about your journey. Love that you were able to come to South Africa, while you were growing up. That's very cool. Great. We haven't had any questions for you specifically. We've had a couple for Kim that I think she is in the process of answering. But I know one of the very popular questions that we often get asked, there's a few of them. The first one that I'm just going to ask on behalf of anyone else who might want to know, what do weekends look like when you are a Bushwise student on campus?
So depending on, I think, what part of the course you're on. So, for example, in my case, we did have, it is a stressful time, especially if it's the beginning part to when you actually do your FGASA exam. Can be quite a stressful time. I know it was for me at least. But, we did have sometimes a day off or a weekend off, depending on how much of the schedule we have right now. So we did have time off. Sometimes just if you want to do some studying on your own time in campus, or if you wanted to go out into town, sometimes we did that. So we went to be fair, some of our group, we went to Kruger quite a bit as well. Did a drive, being practical, getting out, clearing your head, because I feel like that's quite important. But, actually going out for a fun time as well with some of your colleagues, with your other colleagues, which we did a lot of the weekends. And either studying, going out for drives, or just going out to town just to freshen up your head.
Amazing. And last question from me before we invite Darryn on to chat to us. Hi, Darryn, I see you there. Could you tell me a little bit more about the food? I've seen pictures. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but what is the food on campus like? What's the cooking situation? What's the meal situation? Do you want to share a bit more about that?
So I can't speak for all of Bushwise because I was on the Southern Wildlife College, part of the Bushwise campus. There's also obviously the Mshlashla campus. But for example, when we actually started, it was all quite fresh, and there was something new that Bushwise, I guess, developed, because Southern Wildlife College is, as the name kind of says as well, it's a college that teaches a lot of courses about various wildlife studies. So it's not only Bushwise, it's you have some of the game ranger courses going on, and anti-poaching, all kinds. So we had actually, Bushwise made you could say, like a private kitchen on more of our side of the campus. And so it was actually a private kitchen for ourselves, which was very, very cool, actually. And we had a chef called Delight. I actually saw him a couple of days ago. I actually visited a couple of days ago the campus again, just to kind of catch up with some of the instructors and some of the new students, which was weird to see, not me, my other colleagues being there. But yeah, we just went, had a talk with Delight as well, who was a cook, who basically privately made our own food for us as a group. And yeah, it was awesome, quite diverse. You know, sometimes it was vegetarian, sometimes it was more meats, depending on obviously the dietary requirements of the actual of the whole group, I guess. No, but it was awesome.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I've seen some photos. I saw a photo, was it last week or 2 weeks ago or something, one of the Bushwise photos, and it was just this massive like buffet breakfast spread out. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that looks, I was so hungry after that. I was like, I don't want to be looking at pictures like that right now. I have Cocoa Pops and that's it. So awesome. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Fantastic. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up there then. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and to share a bit more about your journey with us. We so appreciate it. And hopefully we'll have you back at another open day fairly soon.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you so much, Ben. Cheers. Cool.
Thank you.
I'm now going to hand over to Darryn, who is one of our wonderful Bushwise trainers and staff members. Darryn, are you here? Can you hear me? Yes, there you go.
Hi, there we go. Hi.
So you might want to be careful. I think there's something in the tree behind you.
Yeah, no, my pet.
as one does.
As one does. Yeah, very well in self.
Awesome, good, thank you. It's just very cold here in Cape Town. Very, very cold. Yeah, but
complete opposite down in the Lowveld at the moment. It's nice and warm. It's balmy. We've had the fans and the aircon running this afternoon, so no, it's all good. Yeah.
Can't even imagine. I literally cannot even imagine. My body doesn't remember the warmth. But anyway, without too much waffle, I will let you dive into your talk on our Bushwise online courses. So thank you so much for being willing to talk us through our online courses today, and feel free to take it away.
No problem. I'm going to start sharing my screen now. And here we go. Sorry, computer's it's still warming up, I suppose. So we've just come out of load shedding now, so it is switching on. Just let me know when it's on.
I can see your first slide. Got it.
There we go. Good stuff. All right. Welcome everyone. I'll be chatting to you a little bit about the Bushwise online courses, the various ones that we've got. All right, so we do offer, it's 2 courses, but broken up into three parts, I suppose. So the Nature Enthusiast, which is an 8-week course, you can do that one separately. The Introduction to Field Guiding, which is a 4-week course, also can be done separately. Or the FGASA Field Guiding, which is a combination of the 2, which is done over a 12-week period. All right, and then meet some of the online team that we don't see too often, but very, very important. Kim, as part of enrollment, and Tammy, the online and back of house support, very, very important to the running of the course. Thank you, ladies. I deal with them quite a lot with the online stuff. Right. Hi, that's me. I'm running the online course at the moment. So I will be doing the majority of the lectures. I do some of the master classes as well. And yeah, so I'm the face that you spend a lot of time looking at during the week, Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. So yeah. Okay, and then just a little bit of feedback from students. Of course, very interesting and enhanced my basic knowledge of South Africa and nature a lot. Teacher explains the material well, and the handbook gives a clear overview of all learning material. Some improvements to the learning methods used are necessary to make an even better and more visual course. So this is just past student feedback. Right, so we'll look at the first course, the 8-week, the Nature Enthusiast. So this is for anyone who loves nature, anyone who wants to learn more, for self-enrichment, to improve knowledge in general, not necessarily wanting to become a field guide, which is quite important, because not everyone, and we'll get onto that in a little bit, but not everyone has the time or the means to come and do either the 6-month or 12-month full Bushwise field guide course that we offer on campus. So they do the 8 or the 12-week course to just kind of get a feel of what field guiding is. Subjects cover many aspects that could benefit any wildlife career. So it's not just becoming a field guide. A lot of it is covered sort of from start to finish. Right, so Nature Enthusiast online course. As a student, you cover a wide variety of topics. We go through the Apprentice Field Guide Study Guide and Workbook. The lessons are video presentations from field guide trainers, so myself and a couple of my colleagues that do that. Self-assessments are practical quizzes, so generally once we've done a lecture, then there's a practical quiz that goes along with that to answer questions from the lecture that is done. Roughly recommend about 10 hours of required learning per week. To complete the course, you need to complete a total of 60 hours. Each module delivered by a professional trainer and pre-recorded lecture. A lot of them, unfortunately, due to load shedding and so on, now we have done quite a few pre-recorded lectures, but otherwise they are done live. And then, as it says there, live weekly webinars to answer questions, work through your assignments and discuss interesting topics. After each module, there is a compulsory assignment to keep track of your progress if you want to gain the full Apprentice Field Guide, and then you have the option to add the 4-week introductory course as well. So a lot of what we cover, what you'll learn, the foundational knowledge of South African biodiversity, authentic interpretation of special nature sites, authentic interpretation of animals and ethology, identification, reading, and understanding of animal tracks and animal behavior. So a lot of pretty much what goes on as a field guide, but that you can still do online. So a little bit about the requirements. The course is presented in English, so we do need you to be fluent in written and spoken English. You have to be at least 16 years old and have access to a laptop or device that have a connection to the internet. So what's included in the price? The FGASA registration fees, the Nature Guide Learner Manual, and then the Apprentice Field Guide, Study Guide, and Learner Workbook. Then the Introduction to Field Guiding, the 4-week course. This is needed to gain the full Apprentice Field Guide NQF2 qualification. Includes guiding-based modules focused on preparing you for your role as a field guide, and includes how you should conduct a game drive or walking safari. So Introduction to Field Guiding Online, what is it about? How you present yourself, and most importantly, how to be an ethical field guide. To be a successful field guide, you'll have to provide your guests with an unforgettable experience. You will learn very valuable skills such as how to approach, approach, address, and convey nature to your clients whilst keeping a safe distance. Your course in field guiding is supported by real-world case studies, lectures with field experts, exercises, and assignments to apply what is being learned. The course is unique as it provides access to leading experts in the field. This will be via live webinars, Q&A sessions, or open discussion forums. Each of these live webinars will give you the opportunity to interact with these professionals. Experts in their field, such as research, rehab, private nature reserve wardens, and anti-poaching units, and conservation. So this is a self-paced 4 modules that follows the manual and uses the Apprentice Field Guide, Study Guide, and Workbook. Lessons of video presentations from our field guide trainers, self-assessments of practice quizzes, also recommended 10 hours of required learning per week. And then each module is delivered by a professional trainer as a pre-recorded lecture. And then again, the live webinar weekly to answer questions and discuss interesting topics. And then there is a grading on each module's assignments every week. And then you're required to participate in pre- and post-course surveys and contribute to the discussion forums. You'll need to attend 50% of the live masterclasses and webinars, so that's usually on a Tuesday and a Thursday evening, and work through all of the study material. So again, a lot of the same sort of what we will learn, what we'll be focusing on as the first one. The only difference here, the requirements, you need to be 18 years of old and not 16. And again, the same sort of what is included in the price, same, the exam and moderation fee, the learner guide and manual, and the learner workbook. And then the full course, or the FGASA field guiding It's both the 8-week nature enthusiast as well as the 4-week field guiding online course. It can be done all at once or can be done in stages. But you do need to do both parts, the 8-week and the 4-week, in order to gain the apprentice field guide qualification. You'll need to get the certificate once both components are completed. And then again, we've got some feedback from previous students here. Sorry, I'm just having some computer issues at the moment. Provide an efficient platform that made the learning process an enjoyable one. A highly knowledgeable and professional team kept the environment friendly and light-hearted and created a family atmosphere that was a pleasure to be a part of. The industry-leading masterclass guests allowed us to gain valuable insight into the great work taking place behind the scenes and diversified the experience as a whole. I enjoyed the course from start to finish and look forward to working with the Bushwise team in the future. Right, how to decide? This is often a very good question that Kim gets. The best option will always be the comprehensive 23 and 50-week professional field guide course, which is done on-site, or the 60-day safari guide course. The 12-week online course is included for free with these options. You should consider the online course due to the following reasons. So if you are planning on coming out here to do the course anyway, I would suggest probably jumping onto the 12-week course, as you gain a lot of knowledge, not only with the Nature Enthusiast online course. I know a lot of people have got work and other life commitments or financial constraints, but the 12-week course leading into the 23 or the 50-week course is obviously a very, very big advantage. It puts the students sort of that step ahead because they've already covered a lot of the bases and they've been through all of the work and they've done all of that. So it definitely does sort of set them apart from those that haven't done it. So yeah, there we go. Very short, sweet, and to the point. That's where I am. I see there are a couple of questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, we've had a few questions. You want to just jump in and tackle them?
Yeah, so Jan asked, the online course is preceding the 23 or 50-week course, or are the online courses something different? No, Jan, it is the exact same thing. The 12 weeks or the online course does precede the 23 or 50-week course, but we do, I think it's 2 every, so we'll do 4 in a year or something like that. So you can jump onto multiple of them in the year. And then I see Gerald has asked, if a student is not yet 21, do they still learn or take part in driving? Yes, so Gerald, they can still take part in that. It's only the PDP or the professional driving permit that they can only get at 21. So they can still take part in the driving and any other activity while they are with us because they're under trainer supervision. So they can do that. And then from there, they can, so the placement options and things like that, then they can do a lot of reserve-based work in various other departments, learn from guides, do a lot of walking and things like that. So although PDP is necessary to guide, you don't absolutely need it for the placement. There are other options for that, which I'm sure Kim will discuss a little bit later on. But I hope that answers Joanne and Gerald from there.
Great, thank you so much. We've actually had a couple more questions. Kim, I think you've answered them via a Q&A box, but I thought it might be nice to just go over them kind of verbally as well for anyone else who might be interested. Darryn, thank you so much for that wonderful talk. It was really great to learn more about our online courses. I don't know if you want to stick around. Some of our questions do relate to our online courses. So
100%, yeah, I'll still be around.
Great. Okay, so let me just pull up these questions. So we had a question from Jörg. I'm so sorry if I'm not saying that. I'm probably not saying that correctly. But they would like to know if it's possible to do the online course and then the 60-day course. They're an international student. And then basically when finances and time allows to come back and participate in the placement. So to do the online course and then the 60-day course, And then should they have the time and the money, then to do a placement?
So I do a lot of the on-site training here. In terms of the online, obviously, the more you do, the better it helps each individual. So the online will definitely be beneficial. The 60-day, fantastic course. I think Kim will have to jump in with the placement and things like that after the 60-day course. There is definitely placement. That's the 50-week course that we talk of. But Kim, if you can maybe just lend a hand here on the placement on the 60-day course.
Sure thing, Darren. Yes, so unfortunately, there's no placement offered on the 60-day course. The only guaranteed placements that we have is for our 23-week course, and that's based if they qualify for that guaranteed placement, and then also if they pass the course.
Okay, thanks, Kim. And then I see there is another question, which I'll just touch on quickly. Regarding the professional course, once you're there, how much time do you have to take the exam? So the exam is part of the course. So if you do the 12-week course and then you come to do the 23 or the 50-week course, we do go through all the lectures again, as well as implementing it part of the practical course. And then it's usually sort of towards the middle of the 23-week course, or about 3/4 the way through the 60-day course when you write the FGASA exam. So I think that was Africa that was asking that.
Yes, awesome. Thank you,
There we
Darryn.
go.
Another question from Joanne. She would like to know, what does Bushwise provide during the 6 months placement period, and what support, does Bushwise provide during the 6 month placement? Does that take?
So we do the placement, and then we do sort of monthly or every 6 weeks, or depending on the cycle that the student works, we try and do a catch-up every cycle with them to find out how they're doing, and that'll generally be with a lodge employee and the student. So it's not just finding out from the student how they're doing, but how they're fitting in and how they're faring at the lodge and how they're sort of integrating into the team as well. So yeah, we don't just leave you and sort of after your 6 month course, just post you off to someone else and make you someone else's problem. You become part of the family, as we say.
Awesome. We don't just leave people high and dry.
Absolutely not.
Fantastic. A couple of the questions I wanted to just touch on that
Sure.
I think I answered earlier. There was one from somebody who wanted to know, do we have any relationship with any Western or Eastern Cape based reserves for work placements? This person is based in Cape Town.
We have now recently started exploring options down in the Eastern Cape, sort of on the border of the Western and the Eastern Cape. So we are expanding down towards that side. And I know there are a lot of talks at the moment with lodges down in that area for further placement partners. So yes, we are definitely expanding the horizon into that area.
Great. Although at this point, being in Cape Town right now, I'm of the opinion where I would rather go up north.
Come to the Lowveld.
Yeah, it's so
Come to the
cold.
Lowveld.
Literally sitting here in a jacket and a hoodie and everything. All right. Well, we don't have any more questions at the moment. I'll give everyone just a few more minutes in case they want to pop something in the Q&A box. And while we do that, I'm going to share my screen and talk a little bit about the special offer that we have today. So basically, as a result of signing up for this open day, you qualify for a deposit of only 8,500 Rand or whatever your local currency equivalent is. We've got them listed up there on the screen. If it is paid by the 31st of July, Monday midnight, basically. And limited additional scholarships are available for 2023 start dates. You are more than welcome to speak to Kim to find out more. As I mentioned earlier, there will be an email landing in your inbox just after this event with all of these details and contact details. Otherwise, Kim's contact number and email address is here on your screen, kim@bushwise.co.za, and you can chat to her with any kind of questions that you might have that you were too nervous to ask here, or that you only thought of once we wrapped up. Yes, but all of that information will be on the email in your inbox.
Amanda, sorry, I just want to jump in here. We've actually got something exciting. I wanted to say that the deposit of the reduced deposit is actually going to be extended to the 7th of August. So just because of the time constraints, and we just wanted to extend that offer to all these amazing people that have joined us today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kim. Well, that's great. Then you all have a little more time. You don't have to scramble, and Kim is hope you're going to have a slightly less manic Monday. We've had a couple more questions come in. One from William, who would like to know, if I complete the 23-week course, when time allows, can you come and complete 28 more weeks to total the 55-week program?
Okay, so sorry, Darren, jumped in here quicker. So the placement follows the course right after the course. There might be a few days or a week or two between you ending the course and you starting the placement. It also depends on if you do the 14-day practical trails course add-on. Unfortunately, students don't have the choice to do the 23-week, go back home for 6 months or a year or 2 years, and then decide to come and do the placement afterwards. Unfortunately, the placement does follow the 23-week course right away.
Okay, good to know. Thank you very much, Kim. And then we have a question here from Caitlin, and they would like to know, for international students, is it possible to get a student visa by doing a full field guide course with you?
I'll go for this because I'm the one that would be sending all the support documents, all the general information about this, as well as a step-by-step guide. So yes, internationals who do the 23 or 50-week course will attend on a study visa. We send all the support documents. It is up to the students to supply or to start that whole process themselves. We recommend a visa consultant. It normally takes anything between 4 and 12 weeks, depending on which country, but we normally send all the visa documents 12 weeks before the course start
Great. Thank you very much. These are really like the nitty-gritty questions that people are like, they want to know. So thank you very much. Another question here from Gerald. They would like to know if the deposit can be paid without knowing yet which 52, I assume this is 52-week course start dates they will decide on. So can they pay the deposit now without having to book a spot on a specific course yet?
Yes, so if you are interested in applying, please pop me an email. I will then send you the application process. You can apply for the course before you know if you want to just do the 23-week course or the 50-week course, especially South Africans, because they have the flexibility. They can decide during the course. For internationals, before the 12-week margin of you starting, you would need to have decided if you want to do the 23-week course or the 50-week course. The reason for that is the visa letter that we submit specifies the duration. You can extend your study visa while in South Africa to do the placement, but it is a lot of red tape. It's a lot of admin, a lot of traveling back and forth to the Home Affairs branches and things like that. So we would recommend that students decide on that 12 weeks before. International students, specifically South Africans, can decide during the course because it's pretty easy for them just to let us know. We can extend it and they pay the difference for the placement fee.
Awesome. Thank you. I think I may have understood the question slightly differently. So I'm not too sure what the question, which understanding it was intended, but I'm going to try for both. So if somebody were to want to book a deposit now and they aren't sure if they want to do the course starting kind of beginning of next year or middle of next year, for example, the 52-week course, can they still pay the deposit now without locking in a start date?
100% yes, although there is a transfer fee applicable. So what I would recommend is always booking a later date. For example, I just had somebody that booked this week. They weren't too sure if they were going to be available by July 2024 due to work and life commitments, or if they would come in January 2025. So I said, right, let's book you on January 2025. And if for whatever reason you can attend earlier, we'll then transfer you to an earlier date, in which case the transfer fee is not applicable. If he was, for example, to book the July course and then later on move to January, there is a transfer fee applicable. It is outlined in our T's and C's, but yes, you can decide on a specific date later on. It just depends if you want to book later or earlier.
Got you. Okay, so better to book for later and then move up earlier to avoid the fee. The transfer fee. Got you. Fantastic. Well, I think that is it for questions. We do have a little more time if anybody wants to jump in there at the very last minute. Give it a couple minutes. Otherwise, thank you very much, Darryn and Kim, both for joining us today, and Maria for being in the background, sharing all the presentations. Oh, we do have another question here. Joanne would like to know, are there still places for January 2024, Kim?
There are indeed, but we only have 7 spaces left. So first come, first serve basis. Whoever pays a deposit first gets that place secured. We do open a waiting list because sometimes there are late transfers or cancellations that are unforeseen. So that is a possibility. But I would start the application process in the next month or two to secure a spot. It is also recommended because then you get to start the online course in September and you have a little bit more time to pay off the course with multiple installments.
That makes sense for sure. Cool. Okay, we've got another question. Mara says, your conservation programs for volunteers are only through GVI, right? Could you talk a bit about that?
Okay, so I speak to quite a lot of people who are interested in field guiding and conservation alike, based on their requirements and what they hope to gain out of doing a certain course or program. I can then give somebody advice to say, right, I think the field guiding course is the right path for you, or if a GVI conservation program is better suited to your needs. Better yet, we do offer a year or an 18-month program, which will cover the field guiding course as well as a GVI conservation program. The nice thing about the GVI conservation programs is that they vary in length between as short as 2 weeks and as long as 24 weeks, depending on your time and budget. We have had a few students that have done the 6-month field guiding course, then have done a 24-week GVI nature conservation program, and then gone on to do a placement where they can actually use the skills learned on both programs in that specific placement. So yes, it is an option. If I feel that the person who I've spoken to is definitely more suited towards a GVI conservation program, I would then recommend them to contact one of our GVI staff members who we partner with. Obviously, it's our sister company, or I can do the booking myself. It really depends on my capacity at the time. But yes, it is something that you should definitely consider doing both. But if time and budget doesn't allow, depending on what you hope to gain and what you want to do in the field of your career, we can then give you more advice on that, because we have quite a lot of experience in both kind of sectors of the industry, and we can take it from there, and you can then make a more informed decision of what is going to suit your needs best.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like a one-on-one conversation with you, Kim, would be quite valuable in that case. I do know interestingly enough, my cousin's daughter is actually studying I think it's zoology in New Zealand at the moment, and she has booked a GVI program at Karongwe, Limpopo, for a month to do in her summer break, and then she plans to, once she's finished that and then finished her degree, she plans to come back and do a 6 months to a year Bushwise program. She just isn't able to do the whole thing at the moment because she's studying. So yeah, just another way that things can be done. Great. I don't see any more questions, so I think I'm going to wrap it up there. If anyone does have any more questions, you're more than welcome to just reply to the email that lands in your inbox in the next few minutes, or email kim@bushwise.co.za, or myself. I can be reached at the alumni@bushwise.co.za email address. But otherwise, I think that's it. I'm going to wish everyone well. Thank you so much again to everyone who joined us today, all of you at home and everyone who spoke. You're most welcome, Joanne. I'm so glad that you found it extremely useful. Huge thank you to everyone for participating. Darryn, Kim, Maria, Ben, who's gone now. Thank you so much. To everyone else, I hope you keep well and warm, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And hopefully we'll see you online or on campus soon. We're going to play out now with a short little video that Maria is going to line up for you. But otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll connect with you soon.
I changed from my career path from retail into being out in the bush all day.
That's when in 2006 we set up Bushwise, and the idea behind it was to not only just get them a minimum qualification, but to add in all the components that makes them really employable and really make them the best they can be in the industry.
I always wanted to work in the wild. I know I'm not capable of working in an office.
I chose to be a field guide because I've always loved wildlife and nature.
Decided that's what I wanted to do.
We are a dedicated team of professionals that have a student at heart value. We are a team that really lives for the success of our students, and that really goes into every decision making that we're part of.
Oh, it's an amazing experience. It shows that Bushwise has the best quality trainers as well.
I got my degree in conservation ecology. Through my degree, I found a passion for the social side of conservation, and Bushwise seemed to meet the standard, so yeah.
Seeing their growth not only in their knowledge and their skills, but also how they grow as an individual. For me, that's most rewarding, is not only are we guiding and giving opportunities for young people to get into industry, but we are really supporting and mentoring young people to grow within themselves while they're with us on the course.
Needs to be in line with what FGASA stands for, and Bushwise meets those requirements. They are in line with the gold standard of training guides, and so we're very excited to have them on board.